You are being robbed right now, and you don't even know it. The cash in your pocket isn't wealth. It's a mathematically engineered hallucination designed to enslave you. Discover the terrifying truth behind this invisible heist and the one crucial secret you must know to finally escape the financial matrix. Look at the piece of paper in your wallet. You bleed for it. You trade the irreplaceable ticking seconds of your mortal life for it. You let it dictate where you sleep, what you eat, and who you are allowed to be. But what if I told you that this God you worship is nothing but a masterfully engineered hallucination? What if the very fabric of your wealth is bleeding out while you sleep, drained by a brutal system designed to keep you entirely blind? We are about to tear down the grand facade of global finance, and I promise you, once you see the terrifying truth of what your money actually is, you will never look at a paycheck the same way again. Before we descend into this abyss and swallow the bitter medicine of financial reality, please hit that subscribe button. Your support is the vital force that allows us to keep exposing the financial matrix and bringing you these uncompromising truths. The Wealth Ladder US 6 welcomes you to the awakening. Consider a man named Bob, standing in the neon glare of Times Square, clutching a crisp, newly printed $100 bill. In this exact moment, that piece of paper grants him the power to purchase a decadent steak dinner for two. It feels tangible, real, and powerful. Yet, just a few hours later, Bob steps off a plane in Frankfurt, Germany. He slides that exact same bill across an exchange counter and receives roughly 90 euros. In the blink of an eye, the steak dinner vanishes from his reality. His purchasing power has evaporated so violently that he might have to wash dishes just to cover the tip. But the illusion deepens. Bob boards another flight, touching down in the humid rush of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. He hands over that same American 100 to a local teller, and suddenly he is handed over 2.5 million Vietnamese dong. By sheer mathematical technicality, Bob is now a multi-millionaire, possessing the capital to feast like a king for an entire week. Did that cotton blend paper absorb some mystical energy as it crossed the oceans? Absolutely not. What you are witnessing through Bob's journey is the unforgiving, merciless machinery of the global currency market. The wild disparity between these currencies is not a geographic accident. It is the mathematical consequence of economic warfare, government policy, and mass human psychology. To understand why your hard-earned money is constantly bleeding its value, you must first unlearn everything you thought you knew about wealth. For centuries, humanity operated under the strict, unforgiving discipline of the gold standard. Governments were bound by reality. They could not simply conjure wealth out of thin air, because every single dollar or pound in circulation was merely a receipt for physical gold locked safely inside a vault. This system acted as a vital financial oxygen tank, aggressively limiting how much debt politicians could gorge themselves on while maintaining a stable global purchasing power. But those in power absolutely despise discipline. They crave endless wars, boundless spending, and total control, all of which require infinite capital. The ultimate betrayal occurred in 1971, when U.S. President Richard Nixon severed the dollar's anchor to gold, officially executing the gold standard and plunging humanity into the era of fiat money. Fiat is a Latin command meaning, "let it be done." It is a sinister declaration that your money has value solely because the government commands it to, and because they force you to pay your taxes with it under the threat of a cage. Welcome to the modern economy, a deadly, high-stakes game of Jenga built entirely on collective hallucination. Your net worth is no longer anchored to gold, silver, or anything born of this earth. It is backed by nothing but fragile trust. And because fiat money floats freely in an ocean of infinite printing, its value is dictated by the ultimate, merciless law of supply and demand. When that trust wavers, or when the printing presses run too hot, the tower inevitably collapses. As we stand amidst the rubble of the gold standard, realizing our wealth is anchored to nothing but a fragile collective delusion, we must now confront the silent assassin that bleeds this fiat system dry day after day. You have probably felt it every time you walk into a grocery store or pull up to a gas pump. A creeping, inescapable sensation that no matter how hard you work, you are somehow falling further behind. They call it inflation, framing it as a natural economic phenomenon, like the weather or the changing of the seasons. But inflation is not a force of nature. It is a masterfully orchestrated, invisible heist. It is a hidden tax levied against the poor and the middle class, designed to siphon the purchasing power out of your wallet without ever having to physically pick your pocket. Imagine you are saving up for a future that feels increasingly out of reach. You put away a few $100s a month, feeling a sense of responsibility and pride. But miles away, behind the impenetrable walls of central banks, unelected officials are typing digits into a computer screen, conjuring billions of new dollars into existence out of thin air. This is the dark magic of quantitative easing and fractional reserve banking. When they flood the market with this newly printed currency, they are not creating new wealth. They are simply diluting the value of the money you already hold. Your savings account is like a glass of fine wine, and the government is relentlessly pouring tap water into it. The liquid rises, but the substance is utterly destroyed. This is why your grandfather could buy a house, a car, and support a family of 5 on a single blue-collar salary, while today, 2 college-educated adults must grind themselves to the bone just to afford a cramped apartment. The system is deliberately engineered to punish the saver. By holding cash, you are holding a melting ice cube in the palm of your hand, watching your life's energy drip through your fingers. They want you to believe that prices are going up because of supply chain issues, greedy corporations, or geopolitical conflicts. While those factors cause ripples, the massive, devastating tidal wave of wealth destruction comes directly from the printing press. They steal your time by devaluing the currency you traded your time to acquire. It is a deeply sinister mathematical form of slavery where the chains are forged not of iron, but of depreciating paper. But the government's infinite money printing is only half of this insidious equation. The other half is a carefully constructed labyrinth of debt designed to keep you running on an exhausting treadmill until the day you die. To keep the masses docile while their purchasing power is systematically annihilated, the architects of this system replaced true wealth with the deadly illusion of credit. You are encouraged, from the moment you reach adulthood, to borrow your way into a lifestyle you cannot actually afford. The shiny new car in your driveway, the sprawling house in the suburbs, the designer clothes in your closet. For the vast majority of the population, these are not symbols of ownership. They are shackles. We live in a culture that glorifies the appearance of wealth while aggressively masking the rotting foundation of debt underneath it. Banks eagerly hand out credit cards, auto loans, and 30-year mortgages, not because they want to help you achieve the American dream, but because they want to farm you for interest. When you sign that loan agreement, you are essentially promising to hand over the future fruits of your labor to an institution that created that money out of thin air. You become an indentured servant to a bank, trading decades of your finite, precious life to pay back money that didn't even exist until you signed on the dotted line. This debt matrix creates a deeply paralyzed society. A man drowning in car payments, student loans, and credit card debt cannot take risks. He cannot speak his mind at a toxic job. He cannot start the business he dreams of, and he cannot afford to rebel against a system that is crushing him. He is entirely dependent on his next paycheck just to keep the repo man at bay. This is the ultimate triumph of the modern financial system. It has convinced the prisoner to not only build his own cell, but to proudly decorate it and show it off to his neighbors. You do not own your life when you are buried in consumer debt. The bank owns you. You are a biological battery, generating revenue for a financial sector that produces nothing of tangible value, yet somehow ends up owning everything. While the masses drown in a sea of engineered debt and depreciating cash, the elite architects of this system are playing an entirely different game, utilizing the very collapse of fiat to catapult their own wealth to godlike heights. There is an economic principle known as the Cantillon effect, and understanding it is the key to seeing why the rich get infinitely richer during times of economic crisis, while the working class is utterly decimated. When new money is printed, it does not distribute evenly across society. It enters the economy at the top, handed out to massive corporations, Wall Street banks, and the political elite in the form of bailouts, subsidies, and near-zero interest loans. These entities get to spend this fresh capital before prices have risen, while you, at the bottom of the pyramid, only feel the effects once inflation has already ravaged the grocery store aisles. By the time the newly printed money trickles down to your paycheck in the form of a meager 2% raise, the cost of living has already surged by 10%. But the cruelty of the wealth divide goes far beyond this delayed reaction. The wealthy understand that fiat currency is toxic, radioactive waste. They do not hold cash. Instead, they use that cheap borrowed money to buy up scarce, tangible assets, real estate, farmland, fine art, gold, and equities. Because there is a finite supply of these real assets and an infinite expanding supply of fiat money, the price of those assets inevitably skyrockets. When you see the stock market hitting all-time highs while homelessness explodes and food banks have lines around the block, you are not witnessing a booming economy. You are witnessing the death rattles of a currency. The elites are using the printing press as a vacuum cleaner, sucking up all the real, tangible property in the world while leaving the middle class with worthless paper. They are buying the neighborhoods you grew up in and renting them back to you at a premium. They are monopolizing the resources that sustain human life. The gap between the asset holders and the wage earners is not an accident. It is the mathematical endgame of a system designed to consolidate ownership into the hands of a few, while reducing the rest of humanity to permanent, rent-paying serfs. Recognizing this rigged game is a terrifying initiation, but it is also the vital, burning key that unlocks the door to your ultimate financial liberation. You cannot defeat an enemy you do not see, and now that the veil has been ripped away, you have a profound choice to make. You can close your eyes, go back to sleep, and let the invisible heist drain the remaining years of your life. Or you can choose to become financially sovereign. Stepping out of the matrix does not require you to become a Wall Street insider. It requires a fundamental, violent shift in how you perceive value. The first step to freedom is to stop measuring your wealth in dying fiat dollars and start measuring it in purchasing power and asset accumulation. You must urgently transition from a consumer who bleeds wealth to impress strangers into an owner who quietly accumulates the things that the printing press cannot duplicate. This means ruthlessly eliminating consumer debt, severing the chains of interest payments that keep you bound to the banks. It means transforming your depreciating paper currency into hard, scarce assets. Whether that is acquiring productive land, building a resilient business, investing in commodities, or mastering high-income skills that are insulated from economic collapse. Your singular goal must be to build a fortress of real value around your family. More importantly, you must reclaim your mind. The system relies heavily on your ignorance, your fear, and your desire for instant gratification. When you stop watching the hypnotic pendulum of mainstream financial media, which tells you to buy high and sell low in a panic, you regain your clarity. True wealth is not about flashing a luxury watch or driving a car you don't own. True wealth is autonomy. It is the quiet, unbreakable confidence of knowing that no matter what unelected central bankers do with their imaginary digits, your foundation is built on bedrock. The financial matrix is a predatory beast, but it is deeply vulnerable to an educated, disciplined mind. Let the masses fight over the illusion of paper riches. You are now awake to the brutal reality of the board, and from this day forward, you are no longer a pawn in their game. You are the architect of your own unshakable legacy. The modern financial system is not broken. It is functioning exactly as designed, as a masterfully engineered machine meant to siphon wealth from the working class to the elite. Through the invisible heist of inflation and the suffocating labyrinth of consumer debt, everyday people are systematically stripped of their purchasing power and trapped in a cycle of endless labor. While the masses trade their finite time for depreciating fiat currency and chain themselves to the illusion of ownership through credit, those at the top leverage the Cantillon effect to amass scarce, tangible assets. This infinite printing of money destroys paper wealth, but skyrockets the value of real property, creating an insurmountable divide between asset holders and permanent renters. However, this matrix of debt and devaluation loses its power the moment you see it for what it truly is. True financial liberation demands a radical paradigm shift. It requires stepping away from the culture of instant gratification, rejecting the trap of consumer debt, and refusing to store your life's energy in a melting ice cube of fiat currency. By taking conscious control of your finances, you transition from a passive victim of economic manipulation to an active architect of your own sovereignty. The ultimate rebellion is not fought with protests, but with financial literacy, unshakable discipline, and the quiet accumulation of real, enduring value. True wealth is not measured by the outward display of luxury, but by absolute autonomy and freedom from the financial matrix. The fiat system is mathematically programmed to steal your time and energy through inflation, while society conditions you to willingly accept the chains of consumer debt. You cannot outwork a money printer, and you cannot build a legacy on depreciating paper. Eradicate consumer debt. Treat high-interest debt like credit cards and auto loans as an absolute financial emergency. Pay it off relentlessly to sever your chains to the banking system. Shift from consumer to owner. Stop trading your hard-earned money for depreciating liabilities just to keep up appearances. Redirect that capital toward acquiring scarce, tangible assets, such as real estate, commodities, a productive business, or high-income skills that cannot be inflated away. Rethink your savings. Stop viewing cash as a long-term safe haven. Keep only what you need for an emergency fund and deploy the rest into assets that act as a shield against the infinite printing of fiat currency. What is the very first step you are taking today, or have already taken, to break free from the debt matrix and protect your financial future? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. We would love to read your perspective, and your insights might just help someone else in our community. If you found value in this message, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. It gives us the motivation to keep creating more deep dive, eye-opening content for you.